announcement has been paid for by Behind the Turnbuckle Plus, the new pod order. BTT Plus. Yeah, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. Plus. Oh, it's extra content right here, chicos. Think about it. BTT Plus, taking over the pod game. Live Q&As, watch-alongs, new shows. BT. Is that okay, Big Tommy? Enter the war room, turnbuckle style. Plus, it's the new way. We call it BTT Plus. The genesis has begun. The beginning of the new pod or BTT. Everybody wants to know what to do next. Well, just scan the code. The pod revolution starts now. The preceding announcement has been paid for by Behind the Turnbuckle Plus, new pod order.
What's good, everybody? Welcome into another special episode of Behind the Turnbuckle. We are changing the game. We only go between 10 and 15 minutes every single show because we know you have a lot to do. He is Big Tommy C, my partner. I am the coach. And Tommy, this week we had a couple of big-time deaths in the world of sports. And one of them has a direct tie to the WWF and WWE. And that, of course, is 83-year-old Pete Rose, who passed away this week. Now, it begs the question, because WWE over the years has always utilized celebrities. Pete Rose was one of those that embraced being a celebrity and doing pro wrestling, maybe as much, if not more, than anyone. How cool was Pete Rose when they brought him on to do all that goofy stuff that he did?
Pete Rose was entertaining as hell, and he loved every bit of that. He was phenomenal. He embraced it. He was a big-time baseball star and who got blackballed and whatever you want to talk about there. But Pete Rose embraced every part of being at every WrestleMania he ever was at, and I thought he was entertaining. And I got to get a picture with him. And
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
Yep. I know you're a big baseball guy. That had to.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
And,
oh my God.
People like me and you, we don't look at somebody and go, "Oh, he had this." We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. I don't give a shit about that. And to me, I look at the greatness of the player.
Yes.
And we all bet. I mean, it's legal now. Shouldn't bet on your team. But how cool was it to be in the presence of somebody who was as great of a hitter as there ever was? Great
hitter, Charlie Hustle. You saw what he did in the All-Star game. He ruined Ray Fosse's life by running him over. That would never happen today. But he's a gamer. He put Bud Harrelson in left field when they played the Mets and they started a big fight. I love stuff like that. I love gamers like Pete Rose. Nobody worked harder than him, and a phenomenal hitter. Unbelievable hitter. One of the best.
Over 4,000 hits, I believe, right? Over 4,000. That's so many. Part of Cincinnati lore. And I just hope, because he is in the WWE Hall of Fame, isn't he, Tommy?
Yes,
he is, right?
Yeah.
So, but he deserves, just for his play on the field. Hopefully these old geezers that still vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame either get out of the way or understand you take the stuff out, because just him as a player is worthy of the Hall of Fame, let alone him as a manager. So get him in. But Tommy, it begged the question for me. I got to thinking as I was remembering Pete Rose on Monday. There have been some great entertaining appearances by celebrities over the years. But what are, in our minds, game? We only go between 10 and 15 minutes every single show because we know you have a lot to do. He is Big Tommy C, my partner. I am the coach. And Tommy, this week we had a couple of big-time deaths in the world of sports. And one of them has a direct tie to the WWF and WWE. And that, of course, is 83-year-old Pete Rose, who passed away this week. Now, it begs the question because WWE over the years has always utilized celebrities. Pete Rose was one of those that embraced being a celebrity and doing pro wrestling maybe as much, if not more, than anyone. How cool was Pete Rose when they brought him on to do all that goofy stuff that he did?
Pete Rose was entertaining as hell, and he loved every bit of that. He was phenomenal. He embraced it. He was a big-time baseball star and who got blackballed and whatever you want to talk about there. But Pete Rose embraced every part of being at every WrestleMania he ever was at, and I thought he was entertaining. And I got to get a picture with him. And I
Did
have
you
it.
really?
Yes, I did.
Yep.
Yep.
I know you're a big baseball guy. That had
yes.
to. I mean,
yes.
And,
oh my God.
People like me and you, we don't look at somebody and go, "Oh, he had this." We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. I don't give a shit about that. And to me, I look at the greatness of the player.
Yes.
And we all bet. Tommy, it's legal now. You shouldn't bet on your team. But how cool was it to be in the presence of somebody who was as great of a hitter as there ever was?
Great hitter, Charlie Hustle. You saw what he did in the All-Star game? He ruined Ray Fosse's life by running him over. That would never happen today. But he's a gamer. He put Bud Harrelson in left field when they played the Mets and they started a big fight. I love stuff like that. I love gamers like Pete Rose. Nobody worked harder than him, and a phenomenal hitter, unbelievable hitter, one of the best.
Over 4,000 hits, I believe, right? Over 4,000. That's so many. Part of Cincinnati lore. And I just hope, because he is in the WWE Hall of Fame, isn't he, Tommy?
Yes,
he is, right?
Yeah.
So, but he deserves just for his play on the field. Hopefully these old geezers that still vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame either get out of the way or understand you take the stuff out, because just him as a player is worthy of the Hall of Fame, let alone him as a manager. So get him in. But Tommy, it begged the question for me. I got to thinking as I was remembering Pete Rose on Monday. There have been some great entertaining appearances by celebrities over the years. But what are, in our minds, the three most entertaining? So I want to start at number 3 for you on your most entertaining, not to be WrestleMania, just WWE moment of all time.
I got to tell you, man, is Johnny Knoxville. The match he had with Sami Zayn and all the mousetrap and Wee Man. That was one of the most entertaining matches ever. It was WrestleMania 38 in the AT&T Stadium, and that was one of the best matches, entertaining with a celebrity I have ever seen. With Wee Man body slamming, they had the mousetrap, they had the tables. I loved it, and that's my number 3.
Wasn't he also in a Royal Rumble at one point, Johnny Knoxville?
Yes, he was.
Wow.
Yep. He had the whole Jackass crew with him.
I remember we were in L.A. one time, and a sober, who was the guy that was always doing the crazy talk like this?
Oh
my gosh.
Steve-O?
Yeah, Steve-O. Yeah. So we got a sober Steve-O in L.A., and I was like, this dude's not any fun. I want the dude that's, getting launched out of a crane into a pile of goo. That's the guy I want. That's not who he was sober. And then we come to find out that a lot of those guys couldn't have done that show, that movie, or whatever if they were sober,
right?
Which is bananas to me. Wow. So Johnny Knoxville is your number 1 or your number 3.
Three.
My number 3 is Shaq, because Shaq to me epitomizes being a celebrity. Nobody loves being him more than Shaq. And not only did Shaq participate in that big battle royal, which I actually was there for. I was already gone, but I was there. Him and Big Show. But every time, Tom, remember we used to go to L.A., and when he played for the Lakers, every show that came up,
somebody's got to do it. Oh, it's extra content right here, chicos. Think about it. BTT Plus, taking over the pod game. Live Q&As, watch-alongs, new shows. BTT Is that okay, Big Tommy? Enter the war room, turnbuckle style.
Plus.
It's the new way. We call it BTT Plus. The genesis has begun. The beginning of the new pod or BTT. Everybody wants to know what to do next. Well, just scan the code. The pod revolution BTT Plus starts now. The preceding announcement has been paid for by Behind the Turnbuckle Plus. New pod order.
What's good, everybody? Welcome into another special episode of Behind the Turnbuckle. We are changing the game. We only go between 10 and 15 minutes every single show because we know you have a lot to do. He is Big Tommy C, my partner. I am the coach. And Tommy, this week, we had a couple of big-time deaths in the world of sports. And one of them has a direct tie to the WWF and WWE. And that, of course, is 83-year-old Pete Rose, who passed away this week. Now, it begs the question, because WWE over the years has always utilized celebrities. Pete Rose was one of those that embraced being a celebrity and doing pro wrestling, maybe as much, if not more, than anyone. How cool was Pete Rose when they brought him on to do all that goofy stuff that he did?
Pete Rose was entertaining as hell, and he loved every bit of that. He was phenomenal. He embraced it. He was a big-time baseball star and who got blackballed and whatever you want to talk about there. But Pete Rose embraced every part of being at every WrestleMania he ever was at, and I thought he was entertaining. And I got to get a picture with him. And I
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
Yep. I know you're a big baseball guy. That had to.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
And,
oh my God.
People like me and you, we don't look at somebody and go, "Oh, he had this." We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. I don't give a shit about that. And to me, I look at the greatness of the player.
Yes.
And we all bet. Tommy, it's legal now. You shouldn't bet on your team. But how cool was it to be in the presence of somebody who was as great of a hitter as there ever was?
Great hitter, Charlie Hustle. You saw what he did in the All-Star game. He ruined Ray Fosse's life by running him over. That would never happen today. But he's a gamer. He put Bud Harrelson in left field when they played the Mets and they started a big fight. I love stuff like that. I love gamers like Pete Rose. Nobody worked harder than him, and a phenomenal hitter. Unbelievable hitter. One of the best.
Over 4,000 hits, I believe, right? Over 4,000. That's so many. Part of Cincinnati lore. And I just hope, because he is in the WWE Hall of Fame, isn't he, Tommy?
Yes,
he is, right?
Yeah.
So, but he deserves, just for his play on the field. Hopefully these old geezers that still vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame either get out of the way or understand you take the stuff out, because just him as a player is worthy of the Hall of Fame, let alone him as a manager. So get him in. But Tommy, it begged the question for me. I got to thinking as I was remembering Pete Rose on Monday. There have been some great entertaining appearances by celebrities over the years. But what are, in our minds, the three most entertaining? So I want to start at number 3 for you on your most entertaining, not to be WrestleMania, just WWE moment of all time.
I got to tell you, man, is Johnny Knoxville. The match he had with Sami Zayn and all the mousetrap and Wee Man. That was one of the most entertaining matches ever. It was WrestleMania 38 in the ATT Stadium, and that was one of the best matches, entertaining with a celebrity I have ever seen. With Wee Man body slamming, they had the mousetrap, they had the tables. I loved it, and that's my number 3.
Wasn't he also in a Royal Rumble at one point, Johnny Knoxville?
Yes, he was. Wow. Yep. He had the whole
remember,
Jackass crew with him.
I remember we were in L.A. one time, and a sober, who was the guy that was always doing the crazy, talk like this? Oh my gosh.
Steve-O?
Yeah, Steve-O. Yeah. So we got a sober Steve-O in LA, and I was like, this dude's not any fun. I want the dude that's, getting launched out of a crane into a pile of goo. That's the guy I went, that's not who he was sober. And then we come to find out that a lot of those guys couldn't have done that show, that movie, or whatever if they were sober,
Right.
which is bananas to me. Wow. So Johnny Knoxville is your number one, or your number three.
Three.
My number three is Shaq, because Shaq to me epitomizes being a celebrity. Nobody loves being him more than Shaq. And not only did Shaq participate in that big battle royal, which I actually was there for. I was already gone, but I was there. Him and Big Show. But every time, Tommy, remember we used to go to L.A., and when he played for the Lakers, every show that came to town, who was standing backstage? Every show. Shaq. He loved wrestling truly. Yeah. He's a big kid. And I think that a lot of really wealthy celebrities would love to do exactly what Shaq has done. And no matter how old, he's in his 50s now, and you would never know it, because all he does is like to help people, be a big kid, and show up. And he loved being a part of the WWE big time, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And you know what, Coach? When we were on the road and he was a rookie, it was a Houston TV. It was myself and Mike Calabrese, Mike, big basketball fans. And he was at the event, and Johnny Giamondo, we all took pictures, separate pictures. This is before Shaq was he was a nobody, tall, skinny kid. We knew he was going to be good. Took the picture, and we never got the picture. I don't know what Giamondo did. We never got the picture with Shaq, and I was so pissed off about it, because we all knew he was going to be a big-time star, and it was at a Houston. He was a fan back then, and I could have had this.
Have you been to the basement of Johnny Photo? It's probably on the wall. Are you kidding me right now? It's probably on the wall.
Yeah, you're probably
he takes
right.
it down every time you come over.
Right. Yep.
All right, number two. Who is your number two celebrity of all time in the WWE, Tommy?
It's got to be one of the greatest boxers of all time, Mike Tyson, WrestleMania in Boston. He was you thought he was going to be the heel. He ended up being the baby face. And just meeting Mike Tyson and seeing him was incredible enough for me. That was one of the top boxers of all time. Nobody tops it more than him. He's my second best.
He's the epitome of, because just so people understand, in the early 80s, Vince did not believe that celebrities should be a part of the big shows. He believed his talent were the celebrities. He hated, but I think he realized at WrestleMania 1, and then as he moved along, you got to have different celebrities to bring in a different crowd. Mike Tyson at that time was as polarizing an individual as you're ever going to have. He had just spent time in prison, and that's the other part, the documentary, not to get off topic.
Yeah.
I can't believe the video even existed of Stephanie, who's supposed to know everything. She didn't even realize that Mike Tyson was used after he went to prison. She thought he went to prison after they used him at WrestleMania.
Right.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
I know.
And actually they didn't destroy that tape. How does that tape even live? And the documentary got their hands on it. That's even more crazy to me.
Yep.
So Tyson was such a good selection because if you're looking at heat, if you're looking at having somebody match up against Stone Cold, who's supposed to be this Texas badass, it doesn't get any more badass than Mike Tyson at all.
Right.
I love that choice.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy, I used the word entertaining. And my number two was as entertaining a moment as I can remember. It was my last WrestleMania, 2008. I didn't know it at the time. My daughter was set to be born in June. So that was the time that Amy, as you know, my now ex-wife, she met Snoop Dogg in his trailer because the Citrus Bowl in Orlando doesn't have locker rooms. So they all had their own trailers.
Yep.
And she walked in and there was, smoke everywhere and you smell like the greatest weed in the world. And she got to meet Snoop. But the trailer right next door, security outside, couldn't see who was inside, didn't want to be bothered, big star, and they paid her $25,000 to show up for one day. And that was Kim Kardashian. And Tommy, I was ringside, and all she had to do for 25 large was announced the attendance. And if I remember correctly, it was something like 68,253, let's say. Tommy, she walks out, and I kid you not, had a card with her. She could not remember the number. And I'm sitting there going, can it get any worse than reading off a card? And then, Tommy, she opened her mouth.
Oh.
And it sounded a little something like this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce a brand new Citrus Bowl attendance record of 68,253. Yay! I remember sitting there thinking to myself, Vince has got to be losing his mind. Has got to be. The only other bigger waste of money was Ashanti, who they paid $50,000 to sing America the Beautiful, showed up in Seattle and didn't even know the first line of the song.
Right.
That was even more embarrassing. But Kim Kardashian at that time, Tommy, 2008, was really becoming a superstar. But, man, what a waste of money that was.
I was there for that, Coach. I remember the rehearsal with Howard Finkel there trying to guide her through, and she couldn't even get the rehearsal right. And I'm like, oh man, thank God you have that rear end, honey, because that's the only thing that's carrying you right now. Enough said.
Enough said. All right, our number one most entertaining celebrity inside the WWE is who, Tommy?
My number one is the greatest defensive football player of all time. Happens to be from my New York Giants, LT Lawrence Taylor, WrestleMania 11 in Hartford, where he went against Bam Bam Bigelow. I freaked out when I found out LT was going to be at WrestleMania. It was so cool. We had a ring inside the warehouse. Remember the ring we had in the warehouse in the TV studio?
Yep.
Saturdays, LT would come up and work out with Pat Patterson, and they bring Bam Bam in sometime. Well, they asked me if I wanted to meet him because they knew I was a big fan. Kevin knew I was a fan.
Yeah, huge Giants fan.
He pulls in the Cadillac. He brings his manager, Dino, this little short Italian guy. He pulls out his golf clubs. We're not ready to go. And there was a Duraloo building, as you know, across the way. He's banging on the asphalt. He's banging golf balls. Boom, going over the friggin' building. Who's going to stop him? Am I going to stop him? No. He's like, oh, do you mind if I do this? Dude, you can do whatever you want, man. It was LT. He was entertaining, brought all the football players with him. I'm a mark for football, just like you. And it was one of the best WrestleManias I ever attended, worked, and LT was phenomenal.
Tommy, I used to be on the board of directors for David Ortiz's charity. And they always had their event in the Dominican Republic, the Red Sox great. And it was very controversial to invite him one year because of some of the things that he has done. And I remember they said, oh, should we invite him? We'll see if the people, because we used to bid on who your celebrity is going to be in the golf, on the golf side of things. He's obsessed with golf. So the fact that you bring that up is right on point. He gets down there. He had his flying man a couple of days early. He played 36 holes of golf every day. Who do you think had the highest bid? They went from controversial to who do you think had the highest bid to have him, or the highest bid to get to be able to place in a group? Lawrence Taylor. $37,000 somebody paid to have him be their celebrity. And I remember going up to him and I asked him, and he confirmed this. Remember the legendary story about him partying all night in New York City, high as a kite, and then he's driving home on the Jersey Turnpike and he sees all these cars pulling into Giant Stadium, and he's like, oh, pulls in. Obviously everybody knows him. Then, go ahead. Gets up to the security guard and he goes, what's going on here today? They're like, LT, you got a game at 1:00.
Yeah.
Oh, I do? Yeah. Okay. Pulls in, has like 3 sacks. They win the game on no sleep. Yeah. And who knows what he had in his system?
Yep.
Tommy, he confirmed it. He said it was all true.
Yep.
That's legendary status. I don't recommend it for anybody these days, but back in the day,
he changed the game. He changed the game. Yes, he did.
My number one. And Tommy, I'm embarrassed for you. I'm embarrassed that this was not your number one.
All
Celebrities do not exist inside of the WWE without my number one.
Okay.
And there has been rumors that particular day of WrestleMania 1, that Hogan and Mr. T held out for more money from Vince. They realized that the entire, and you saw it in the documentary, everything was mortgaged. Everything was on the line. So this story actually makes sense that they would hold out for more, and that Vince had to find an extra $250,000 to $500,000 for them to show up and be in the main event of WrestleMania 1. It's on brand for Hogan, especially. We know Hogan.
Right.
But Mr. T was the guy. And I'll never forget Tommy in North Carolina one time, the Brooklyn Brawler. He used to love to surprise us with the celebrities. Remember that? And we were playing cards behind the thing. And all of a sudden, he goes, Coach, you won't believe who's outside. And remember he did all his commercials for 1-800-COLLECT?
Right.
Remember that?
Yes.
And he's like, Mr. T is out in the hallway. I said, Brawler, you do this all the time.
Yeah.
Mr. T is not out in the – remember he used to do that? And all of a sudden, the curtain flies back again. Mr. T is standing right there. And that's how I got to meet him. Could not have been nicer. I couldn't believe how small he was, though.
Yeah.
He's a lot smaller than I anticipated.
Yes.
Right?
You're absolutely right.
He's a legend, man. He's still a legend to this day. He still has figured out how to reinvent himself as Mr. T. And that's hard to do.
Yep. Do you remember the Hall of Fame, when they put him in the Hall of Fame, they had to cut his speech? Like they just cut his mic. He was just rambling on for minutes, and Kevin and Vince were going nuts. Cut his mic. Just cut his mic off. And he said, I felt so bad for T. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I mean, oh my God. But what a great guy, man. And, back in the day when that happened, WrestleMania 1, he was a big time star. Big time.
Well, I mean, the huge star. Then he was, star of the 18. Like, he had it going on, and he looked like nobody else. We could do a whole entire episode, Tommy, on bad Hall of Fame speeches and how much. I mean, when they brought it back in New York, I remember they had like 13 guys they were going to induct. It went so long that bars were closed in New York City.
Yeah.
By the time we got done in that ballroom at the Hilton or wherever the hell we were at,
I remember
and that's what they decided to give guys time. So the next year, Superstar Billy Graham went for like 34 minutes. We're like, oh my God, stop it already. All right, every single episode is only about 10 to 15, 16 minutes at the most. We understand that you have time. Easiest way to take in all of our content, subscribe to our channel. Turn on your notifications. Every time a show drops or an interview drops, you will be notified, and you can watch it all. Right now, we're in the middle of Maven. Part 1 is dropped. Part 2 will drop later this week. You do not want to miss that. But for now, that's going to do it for us. For Big Tommy C, for Producer Man Behind the Scenes, I am the coach. We'll see you next time behind the turnbuckle.
Hey, I'm Zach, and this is Deemer Box. What is a Deemer Box? A Deemer Box is a rugged portable speaker. It's a vault to hold all your things, keep them dry and safe, and it's a charger. You're looking at 40 hours of playtime. So we charge this thing maybe once a week when we're traveling and adventuring. There's volume controls on the outside of the box here, so you can turn it up and down. If you have your phone inside there charging, it's nice and safe and dry. All right, so we're gonna hook the Deemer Box to our phone. I'm gonna show you some tricks. You just hit the button on the front. You've got the battery gauge here. That lets you know how full your battery is. You got volume here as well. So you just turn it on, go to your Bluetooth, Deemer Box DV2, and it says when it's paired. Yep. And so inside the lid, if you're just jamming tunes and you're not around water or anything like that, you can leave this open. But if you're going into a wet or muddy, snowy environment, inside the lid right here is a plug. You undo this plug, it pops out, put it right in the top right here, give it a few turns, turn it on. Now you've got a waterproof speaker box. Now you can play it for the whales. I think there's a use for each individual person. The Deemer box, like this is mine with all my stickers, my things on it. You can kind of make them your own. That's part of the love of them. I have a connection with these because it's like a good belt or like a good pair of boots. You can cater your lifestyle to your Deemer box, but there's no other speaker that charges your things and holds all your stuff, keeps it dry and safe. That's what sets this apart. So I'd recommend y'all trying a Deemer box and bring it because it's so much more than a speaker.
I'm at a dinner table with The Undertaker, Midian, Maven, The Godfather. After a few glasses of wine, Mark was on the other side of the table, and he's just holding court and telling stories. We were like hanging on every single word. And I'm like, how is any of this happening?
Well, look who it is. How the tables have turned.
What world are we living in?
I don't know.
Where I'm the guest on your show.
I love it.
This is crazy.
I love it. Well, welcome, first of all, to Behind the Turnbuckle.
Yeah, congrats on all your success with it as well.
Thank you. I'm literally following in your footsteps on how we do the interview thing, how we put it out. And so I thought it'd be great to utilize this time to interview you instead of me just being on your show for I think a record 4th time.
Yes, and thank you for that. And people can go check that out on my YouTube channel and go check out the other ones. Thank you for the kind words. I would pick someone who's a little more successful, though, if you want to have the blueprint.
Okay, we know that's not true because you're humble, but that's where we're going to start. Because wherever I go now and whatever I talk about, whether it's Behind the Turnbuckle and we do our interviews, we've had Cody Rhodes and DDP, I always kind of come back to Insight because you've really, the last year and a half, exploded into this new world. What would you say, as we just get started, has been the secret from what you were doing, let's say 3 years ago, to now these 2 channels that have billions of views and that you're getting every single person seemingly that's out there?
I went all in on it. And I started treating my podcast like it was a real job. So if I was employed I used to work at the Fox affiliate in Miami. If I used to work for the CBS affiliate in Cleveland, I treated this like it was my job. And that, I think, was the biggest difference. A lot of people treat their podcast or the YouTube channel like it's this side gig, right? And if you treat it like it's a side gig, it will start to make income and, be it like a side gig for you. I went all in on it. And it changed last year when WrestleMania was here in Los Angeles. I was doing 2 episodes a week, which I now do 3 episodes a week, but 2 interviews a week. Sometimes it would be a wrestler, but sometimes it would be an actor or an athlete or a comedian or an entrepreneur, people that I was interested in just learning from.
Right.
And last year when WrestleMania came to LA, I went, what if I could bank a whole bunch of wrestling interviews so that we could go a whole month of just back-to-back-to-back wrestling interviews? And I did. I banked 14 interviews at WrestleMania 39 when it was in LA. So all of April was wrestling interviews, and it ended up being my most listened to month ever. I went, okay, well, let's see if we can keep this going. May, I did the same thing. And then May was bigger than April. And then I did the same thing in June, and that was bigger than May. And that just kept going, right? It just kept building on itself. So it was the consistency. The biggest thing for any content creator is consistency. The more that you keep showing up, the more your audience will keep showing up. And I think it's important to point out that my YouTube channel is 13 years old. Okay.
See, that is important. Everybody thinks that happens overnight.
I know. I started my YouTube channel in February of 2011.
Wow.
And all I was doing at that point in time was just putting these raw interviews from different wrestlers or actors or comedians on my YouTube channel because I was working for a TV station. We were doing these interviews with massive names. And unless you were watching Channel 19 at exactly 4:14
that's right,
that Thursday afternoon, you would never see the interview. And if you didn't live in Cleveland, right? So I was like, well, some other Jennifer Lawrence fan, Sylvester Stallone fan, whoever fan, Steven Spielberg fan, is The Rock, whatever, they're going to like this. So what if I just put this on YouTube? They can find that if they're looking for it, but otherwise at least gets to live somewhere. Some of those started building a little bit of traction, but the YouTube channel started 13 years ago. The podcast started 5. We're coming up on 5.5 years now.
It's so funny because I tell people all the time, we have like 8 or 9 guys in my 2 brands that I do now that basically we work for free for the first several months on purpose as you build, because you never want to take the little things until you build it up. And I always refer to the Cat Williams interview on Club Shay Shay because Shannon Sharp said, I've been doing this show for 5 years. I had no idea it existed before that interview. So it takes like that one viral thing or that one thing to get popular. Do you remember which interview it was that you said to yourself when you started getting that love and all those flowers? You said, "This is the avenue that I should go down."
I think it's a series of a lot of little steps, right? It's a lot of little bricks along the way that end up, building the house or whatever this dumb analogy is going to be. But I think it's like, I had an opportunity to talk to The Miz really early on when the CM Punk pipe bomb stuff was happening. Miz was throwing out the first pitch for the Cleveland Indians. I went on the field, did like a 5-minute interview with him, asked him a question about CM Punk's pipe bomb, and he gave me a quote about that. The next day I woke up and this interview had like 30,000 views. And I was like, what? I had like 16 subscribers. Like, how did this happen? One of them being my mom. And then solid. Right? But I realized that someone had taken that quote and shared it on various wrestling websites and they linked to my video. And I'm like, oh, we're on to something here. That was the first kind of clue of like, if I can get access to these people and they talk about something that might be newsworthy, those videos can maybe continue to grow. There was another one when Chris Jericho signed with AEW, and I was the first interview that he did. And people will remember we sat in the backseat of his car.
That's right. Right.
And he was a WWE guy through and through. And he said he would never leave WWE. And then he had this opportunity to build this new thing with Tony Khan and AEW, and we chatted about it. And what people don't know is I drove 5 hours to meet him in a parking lot. He was doing a live podcast in Ocala, Florida. I drove from South Florida all the way there. Drove 5 hours to do a 20-minute interview with him, and then got my car and turned right around. Got my buddy to drive my car because I was sitting there on my laptop and editing the video so I could get it up as quickly as possible. So there were a lot of little things along the way. That video ended up getting a lot of views, and I'm super grateful to Chris Jericho for even giving me the opportunity and saying, yeah, sure, I'll do this interview with you. But it was a lot of those little ones along the way that made me go, all right, instead of me talking to The Rock when he's promoting a movie or Dave Bautista when he's promoting a movie, what if I were to talk to this wrestler who's in town for an indie show? Or what if I were to go to this convention that's 2 hours away and there's a few big names there? What if I could get one of them to say yes to do an interview with me? Even if it's only a few minutes, what if I could get one of them to say yes? And if I got that yes, I would do anything I could to get in the building, find some sort of credentials to be able to even talk to them. And I just started taking any opportunity I could to just squeeze my way into the door.
When I watch you and I see, I follow you on everything, and we're obviously good friends, but a lot of fans that sit at home that I say sit on the sidelines, they go, I could do that. I could do that. They see the finished product. You just described 10 hours for 20 minutes because of your passion to get this done and the fact that you don't want to have a regular job anymore. You don't want to be at Channel 19 in Cleveland making $42,000 a year. But now that you've got to the point where I'm never surprised at who you say, hey, this is going to be the next guy. It could be the biggest star. It could be a mid-level guy. It could be an indie star.
Oh, I'm always surprised. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm always surprised when I can get someone to say yes.
But now it seems like you get everybody.
But there's still a lot of people who either just say straight up no.
Really?
Or they just won't get
They don't get back to you?
Message back. Yeah.
That's okay. See, that's what's so funny because I was obviously I was a talent inside of the WWE. So I was always on the other side of being interviewed, even though I was an analyst, so to speak. And I remember when it really kind of started and we would openly discuss, I would never go talk to the dirt sheet guys.
Yeah.
So you're kind of responsible for taking the dirt sheet guys and turning it into this is grade A level. This is where everybody should strive to be. How important is that production value and making sure that it's excellent so that because all the talent, they watch those interviews and that's why you get the other guys too.
Well, look, we all live with a supercomputer in our pocket, right? Like We're all sitting here at some point during the day, swiping on Instagram, swiping on TikTok, right? If my face can pop up there at some point during the week, then we're doing something right. And I understand that if I send you a link for an interview that's an hour and 27 minutes, and I go, man, you gotta watch this interview. It's so good. It's an hour and 27 minutes. Pretty good chance you're not gonna click on that link.
Right.
But if I send you a clip from that same video or same interview, and that video's 41 seconds, man, you're probably gonna watch that. And if you like that enough, maybe you'll go find another clip. Maybe you'll go find another clip, and then maybe you'll go and find the full interview. I like to think of these vertical videos, so we're talking shorts or reels or TikToks, as breadcrumbs. So they're just the tiny little breadcrumbs. Super easy to consume a 30, 60-second video, right? If you like that breadcrumb enough, hopefully you'll go looking for a piece of bread, which is the longer 2 to 5 to 7 minute clips, which you see on my clips channel. If you really like that slice of bread, hopefully you go looking for the loaf of bread, which is the full podcast, the full interview. That's kind of how we've broken this down. So I think that just getting these clips out, it to as many people as we can. You know, the John Cena interview, it was an hour and 13 minutes. I think we made 45 clips from it.
I remember there were a lot.
Yeah.
But that takes time.
Of course.
For people who don't understand how those are made, if you just sit at home and you use CapCut or something, I mean, it is monotonous. Thank God I don't have to do it. But how did you get into a workflow where you can make those 45 clips and not spend a week doing it?
So up until 2 years, I did it all. So I was editing all of the interviews, and I was wearing a lot of different hats. And yeah, I know how to edit video, but I'm not a great video editor by any means. I'm like a 6 out of 10. So I was like, what if I could hire someone who's actually a professional video editor, a 10 out of 10, who could not only do this way better than me, but do it in like a fraction of the time. And I started working with a video editor. I now work with a guy named Troy Blair, who I truly believe is the best vertical video editor on the planet. Not just wrestling editor, but just best vertical video editor on the planet. And this is actually a great story for anybody who's an aspiring editor or aspiring creator. He just sent me a cold email, and he was like, hey, you have some great content. I actually think I could make your content even better. And I was working with somebody at the time, and I emailed Troy back, and I basically said, like, thanks, but no thanks. And he's like, in the email, he had sent me a sample of his work. And I thought, wow, he actually like took the initiative to spend the time, not even knowing if I would answer this email or not, but he took the time to edit this video and show me what he was capable of. And the video he sent me was pretty good. About a week later, I was like, what if I reach out to him and just give him a chance? And I was like, your stuff's pretty good. Like, why don't you make me like 10 videos? All right, 10 videos would cost this much money. I said, great, let's give that a try. And they were awesome. And they generated more views than the current company I was working with. And we kind of took off from there. But the reason that I think our Clips channel just hit 1 billion views.
It's ridiculous.
On YouTube. I owe so much of this to just a great team of people that are far smarter than I am, that have an eye for like, oh, that's going to be a good piece of content. Let's run with that.
It's funny because as I lead my own group now, and we're a little bit different than what you do, but I'm learning that I have to have good people around me.
Yeah.
If I want to scale up to the point where you're making the amount of money where you can survive and you don't have to make it a side gig. And you also have to trust those people that they're going to get the work done.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate too, because a lot of our people reach out to me cold. Can you have imagined, let's say 15 years ago, 2010, 2009, and we're talking about editing vertical video. And we're like, what the hell is that? And I think that's one of the biggest things, and I don't know if it's frustrated you or why you tried to do your own thing and your own boss now, is that a lot of the big networks that I've been at, a lot of the executives never change. They never think outside the box. They don't evolve with the times. And now you have to, or else podcasts at a network can't work.
Yeah.
And I think now you're more the standard than, say, at a network level. Do you feel that shift changing?
We're definitely at a crossroads right now. Yeah. And I think that there's still this misunderstanding that that TV screens are the main screen that we watch. This is the main screen that all of us watch. Like, this is the main screen. Is my daughter on there? Oh yeah, she is on there. That's the main screen that we're watching. And so if people are watching content on their phone first, we've started making content so you can consume it on your phone first. So we'll go into these interviews for Insight that are an hour and a half long, but we're also thinking like, okay, as we're going into this interview, that could probably be a clip. Okay, great. That could probably be a clip. That could be a clip. And we're kind of reverse engineering the process of like, yes, we have the long form video that's an hour and a half or whatever that is, which is obviously going to go on the podcast as well. How many clips can we make out of that? Because the percentage of people that are going to consume the entire piece of that content are
small, right?
Small.
Yeah.
But it's been so cool how many people have come up to me, like big name people that are like, I know you. I know your work. Like, what?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Because when I was there, and it wasn't until well after I left WWE full time, that they owned us, meaning we had to get permission for everything. A lot of your early interviews were at press junkets, where guys would just go one. You get 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or whatever it is. Do you remember a time where the WWE started saying, we trust you, because it happened with us on our show when Cody Rhodes walked into an interview with DDP, sat down for 30 minutes, and a part of it because he knew we had worked together, but also he didn't have to check with the bosses anymore.
Yeah.
Was there a shift? And do you remember the big interview you got where you're like, oh, this isn't a press junket anymore, and this is just because of me?
Yeah. It was last year. Like this has only happened relatively recently. So I freelance for the CBS station in Las Vegas, KLAS, and I put movie junkets on there and some celebrity interviews on there a few times a month. Royal Rumble was about to happen, and I just shot in the dark, sent them an email. I said, hey, is there anybody who's doing any sort of press for the Royal Rumble? We'd love to air it on KLAS. And I was not expecting to get a response. And they said, yeah, we've got LA Night available tomorrow. And I went, sign me up then. Okay. This is incredible. Because there was a long time in WWE where they would only give you access if it was going to air on TV or the radio.
Really?
So if this was going to be on the podcast or YouTube channel, even if it was going to get 500,000 views or 1 million views, they wanted those call letters there. So I was like, all right, well, what if we put it on TV, call letters, and I'll put the full interview on my YouTube channel as well. And they were like, yeah, LA Night's available. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know Sean. He's a great guy. Sean, this is his real name. I know him. So this is even like better, tying everything together. That was, I think, when things really started to shift. And if you listen to the press conferences now that they do after all the WWE PLEs, it's not entirely Sports Illustrated or CBS or Fox that's in there. WWE is starting to realize that eyeballs are eyeballs.
Yeah.
And if that's coming on a website or it's coming on a YouTube channel or from a podcast, they all count. So I think that they've just, with the new regime change there, and I don't know this for a fact, but from the outside looking in, it sure seems like they're valuing that like these audiences already exist there. Let's tap into that a little bit.
I think also you're seeing when networks say, all right, I want to pay this person $500,000. There was a stretch a few years ago where the WWE didn't allow Twitch, and you had all this talent that's making all this money, and they had to decide between their deal with the WWE or do I keep my Twitch channel going? And it's really cool to see that that's kind of shifting just a little bit. But when you talk about shifting, how you're perceived in particular, because I know recently you were, and I want you to tell me how you got it done and then how it flipped, kind of what we're doing, where you interviewed The Undertaker, who has one of the top 5 podcasts in wrestling. I think that's category.
They're crushing it.
Yeah. But guess who has number 1? You do.
Yeah.
And so when that situation happened, and I know how he'll interview, he'll do like 4 episodes at a time, and that's probably the easier way of doing it.
Yeah.
How did that situation happen? And then when he said, oh, and Chris, we want to interview you for ours, and you can do Taker, that had to be crazy.
That whole day was crazy. All of that was crazy. So I did an interview with The Undertaker last summer. He was bringing the One Dead Man show to Las Vegas. So it's like, perfect. We can air this on the TV station there. And then I've got this 20-minute interview with The Undertaker that we put on the podcast and the YouTube channel. At the end of the interview, he goes, we should run this back again sometime. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and I'm a man of my word. And I'm like, okay. So like he actually means it. And then I think the next day or the day after, I saw that he was following me back on Twitter. I was like, oh, damn. Like, he meant it. So I just shot him a quick DM and I said, hey, thanks so much. Looking forward to running it back with you sometime. And then maybe like 6 months later, I sent him another DM. Hey, I'd love to get you on the show. And he didn't read it. Then his podcast co-host, Matt Lyda, who's awesome, shot me a message and said, hey, we're putting together some merch for the Undertaker's podcast, 6 Feet Under with Mark Calloway. Can I send you some t-shirts? I said, absolutely. Here's my address. Yeah, absolutely. And then he goes, and we're thinking about getting some people on the show, and we'd love to have you on the show. And I'm like, what? I'm reading this DM, and I'm like, me?
You couldn't believe it.
On his show?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, what would you think about you being a guest on our show, and then you could do an interview with Mark afterwards?
Perfect.
What?
Wow.
He's like, yeah, we're thinking about like first week of whatever month it was in Austin. I'm like, I will be available. Like, I'll get on a plane right now, anytime. So yeah, I was a guest on his show, which was crazy. And you're just shooting the breeze with The Undertaker and Matt Lyda. Like, you're just hanging out, which was so cool. After that, we were like, all right, so should we film the interview here? Because they rent a studio in Austin. Should we do it here? Should we do it at your house? Like, he's like, I don't care. Undertaker's like, whatever's best for you. I'm like, no. Like, whatever's most convenient for you.
For you.
He goes, yeah, we'll shoot it at the house. We'll shoot it at the house. So since our interview's done here, we've also got Midian and we've got The Godfather, and then we got another interview that we're doing. I'll probably be done here about 4. Why don't you head over to my place? I'll give you the address. Why don't you head up there? Go into the gym. When you roll up to the property, the gym's on the right-hand side of the property. Just go in there, set up, and I'll join you there after. Here's my phone number.
What?
In case you get lost. And I'm like, how is any of this happening? Like, I'm doing an interview with The Undertaker at his house, and he's giving me his phone number in case I get lost. This is all crazy. So sure enough, roll up to his house, beautiful house on a massive property. His gym is insane, by the way. Oh, it's incredible. We set up there and we were just like waiting for him to walk in. Sure enough, he walks in and sat down. I said, do you have a time that we need to be wrapped up by? He's like, I'll never forget it. He goes, yeah, just keep asking me questions so you get all the bullshit out of me. And we talked for almost 2 hours. And it was just so cool. And you know The Undertaker.
Sure.
What a good guy.
He really is. I think people don't realize how good of a guy he is.
Yes.
And also he's a perfect example of, and not a lot is talked, and for obvious reasons with the whole Vince situation, but I cannot even have fathomed 15 years ago, when podcasts were starting, that the character of The Undertaker, which was so incredibly guarded, you never saw a picture of Mark in an airport. He never took pictures, and I was very critical of the Wyatt Six recently for, you got this huge buildup, and then you're taking a picture at Whataburger. What are we doing, right? And I use Undertaker as an example. I was like, this never would have happened in his prime.
The following announcement has been paid for by Behind the Turnbuckle Plus, the new pod order. BTT Plus. Yeah, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. Plus. Oh, it's extra content right here, chicos. Think about it. BTT Plus, taking over the pod game. Live Q&As, watch-alongs, new shows. BT. Is that okay, Big Tommy? Enter the war room, turnbuckle style. Plus, it's the new way. We call it BTT Plus. The genesis has begun. The beginning of the new pod or BTT. Everybody wants to know what to do next. Well, just scan the code. The pod revolution starts now. The preceding announcement has been paid for by Behind the Turnbuckle Plus, new pod order.
Oh, and it's a new day. Yes, it is. What's good, everybody? Welcome in to The Last Word. Tonight, we take a giant step forward. We want to welcome everybody watching on all of the different stadium platforms. You're watching on Amazon Prime, welcome to The Last Word. If you're watching on DirecTV, welcome to The Last Word YouTube TV. How about Roku TV? You can watch us on social media and also on our YouTube channel. We're going to be here every single Monday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Time to midnight Eastern Time. You can also watch us on demand throughout the week. Now, I am your boy, the coach, and I navigate this crazy ship. We only started 9 months ago, and look how far we've come in 9 months because of all of you. If you want to participate in the chat, go ahead and put anything in there. We'll get to as many as we can. Now, we do have a presenting sponsor for the very first time, Dimmer Box right here, the most rugged Bluetooth speaker in the game today, co-owned by Zach Brown of the Zach Brown Band. Go to their website, use the promo code COACH10, 10% off anything at the site. Now, coming up in about 45 minutes right here live on the show, the brand new TNA World Champion, Joe Henry, will be here live on the show, and we're going to ask him all about becoming the new world champion, what it's like, a social media sensation that's coming up in about 45 minutes. But you know I can't do the show by myself. 9 months ago, I called this man. Over 32 years in the WWE, well over a decade for myself, 45 plus combined years. I said, hey, you want to do a show? He goes, you want me to produce? I said, hell no. I want you to be my partner. He said yes, and look where we are today. Please welcome to the show for the very first time on Stadium and all of its platforms, my good friend, Big Tommy C. Tommy, what's good, my man? Can you
What's happening, Coach? What's
believe it?
happening? I'm here, man. I can't believe it. You know, I got DirecTV in 1996, right? Who would think my fat butt, when you would come over and watch pay-per-view with me, would be on DirecTV right now? What a rib that is. Unbelievable, and I love it.
It's amazing. It's amazing. We got a lot to talk about over the course of the next hour. But guess what, Tommy? When I knew that we were going to be on Amazon Prime, when I knew that we were going to be on DirecTV, when I knew we potentially could be in over 100 million homes, I had to make another phone call. I had to make a little ring-a-ding-ding. And guess what? She picked up. Please welcome to the show for the very first time with all of us. She's going to be here every single Monday night. She's opinionated. She knows pro wrestling, and just get out of her way. She's the host of the Gabby AF podcast. Gabby Laspisa, get on up here. Welcome to the show. How are you, my dear?
I am so good. I've never had this much energy at 11 o'clock on a Monday night. I'm so hyped right now. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Are you kidding me? I have a feeling because they're already talking about you in the chat on our YouTube page, because apparently I'm a YouTube killer, as you guys know. They're already saying that we're going to change the game because you are here. That's what they're saying in the chat. Do you believe that?
Listen, not only do I believe it, but what did I say when they said it? You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. So
oh my God.
Thanks for the call, but I showed up and that's what happened.
You're absolutely amazing. By the way, before we get into our first topic, how about the one thing I always appreciated about the WWE, and Michael Cole did a great job tonight. How about, Gabby, that MLK? It's Martin Luther King Day. It's a holiday. What a tribute they always do, huh, Gabby?
I've been saying this about WWE since I started watching pro wrestling, which, by the way, was 6 years ago. They do the best vignettes, tribute videos, promo videos, anything, you name it, always done so beautifully, so well produced, just everything. It wasn't even that long of a video. It didn't need to be, but it was perfect. And it was just a beautiful tribute to MLK. I thought they did a great job.
Big Tommy, your thoughts?
They always tell a great story when it's MLK Day, right, Coach? I mean, like Gabby said, it's not too long, it's not too short, but it hits you right here in the heart, and it makes you feel what MLK went through and what he did for this country.
The one thing about the message he always had is everybody's included. And the one thing we always do here at BTT, everybody is welcome. User 279 says, Coach, this is a first take kind of feel only for wrestling. You're damn right. Everybody's got an opinion here. How about he says it's 4:05 a.m. in Dublin, Ireland. The Irish are with us. And he says it's my favorite podcast. Let me correct you. We are not a podcast. We are a brand, and we are so much bigger than just YouTube, Stadium, all of the platforms. Think bigger. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the first word. The first word. I'm already pissing off producer, man. He's like, give me a little bit more time, please. How about a little more lead time? All right, so this is going to be the part of the show every single week where we talk about the biggest topics, whether it's what just happened on Monday Night Raw. We just saw the main event, Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. But I want to start with the length of time because, Tommy, they can't seem to figure it out. I guess this is one of the bonuses to being on Netflix that they can do whatever they want. But the second week in a row, we've only gone 2.5 hours. Then the first week was 3 hours and 10 minutes. Then you've got promos and interviews that are being seen by some people on Netflix. Other people are seeing commercials. I find it very, very confusing right now. Do you?
It's very confusing. I get the commercials because you asked me tonight, oh, did you see the Charlotte Flair interview? No, I didn't see the Charlotte Flair interview. I get the commercials. It's very confusing to what WWE and Netflix is doing right now. And this is like the second week in a row where the show was just, and we'll talk about it, there's just some things going on in that writing team and Triple H and all these guys. I want to see where they're really going. And right now, it's very confusing.
So with all the promotion, Gabby, to being on Netflix, and I thought this could be the issue, that they had so much hype and they were preparing so much for night number one. It's almost like we've got to write for week number 2, week number 3, Saturday night's main event. And tonight, how do you even talk about it on a show like this if you don't even know who saw what?
Right. I mean, it also makes me feel like, because I do get the commercials, so you had to tell me like, oh, they were interviewing this person, that person. It makes it feel less important because if you have a lot of watchers, like viewers, I mean to say, that are watching the product and they're not seeing any of this stuff. I didn't even know I wasn't seeing that. If you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have even known. So how important is it really in storyline or for me to know what's going on if there's a feud brewing or a rivalry or something happening if I'm not even seeing the promo or a backstage interview about it? So I think that's where the disconnect is for me.
User 279 said there wasn't anything in this show of Raw that was so important that I had to click over for the game. And right now, Ohio State's getting ready to win the national championship. But Gabby, I don't like to start off the show negative. I don't want to be negative. But speaking of the game and speaking of the transfer portal, I know what the WWE is trying to do. They're trying to say, hey, we're trying to make this like a sport.
Yeah.
But right now, you've got Bayley, who was on SmackDown, then NXT, then Raw. She announced herself for Raw. But then before that, we saw Nia Jax beat up Rhea Ripley, and I'm like, she's a SmackDown superstar. I can't figure out who the hell's supposed to be on what show. Can we drop the transfer portal, please, and just say they're WWE superstars and they just show up on this show? Can we do that?
Listen, I think that's the way to do it. I don't even think this would be a talking point if Adam Pearce hadn't said that Bayley was now on Raw. She did a backstage interview talking about that she's now on Raw. So, and then all of a sudden, the start of the show, you see Nia, who's on SmackDown, attack Rhea Ripley, which makes sense because we also saw Nia last week, who was berating Bayley in her hometown. So we know why they have heat with each other. So, and then Rhea took her side. So she attacks Rhea, whatever. I get what they're trying to do when it comes to Nia because they're just trying to put as much heat on her as possible. And how are you going to do that? Bayley's a face. Rhea's the biggest face that they have going right now. But for me, when you talk about Nia, I'm like, I'm waiting for that Nia Tiffany Stratton rivalry to happen because that's what you got me emotionally invested in. That was what's been brewing for it. So I sat there and I was like, why am I seeing Nia in a match with Bayley? Why is Nia all over Raw? And it dawned on me, there's not really any female heels on the Raw roster right now that can be getting the heat that Nia is getting. And
that's exactly right.
I don't know about everybody else watching, but I am clamoring to get Charlotte Flair back, to get Becky Flair back, to get Becky Lynch back, to get Asuka back, because at this point, you're kind of in that weird phase, right? They just kind of wrapped up that feud between Rhea and Liv, which went on for a long time and it was done beautifully. And you got a week now until the Rumble where we're going to get some surprises. There's going to be new storylines happening. I think this was kind of just, let's throw Nia. She's got the heat on her. They kind of brewed it up a little bit with Rhea and Bayley last week. And that's kind of what we got. And that's what they did with it. But yeah, I think to move forward, if you're going to announce somebody on a new, show, maybe kind of do that all the time, because it just fell a little flat for me. But
completely. And then let's not put Nia Jax in a 20-minute match with Bayley, and then we beat her clean, Tommy. And then it's a move that has been very, very documented over the years, that when she does the move where she jumps up and lands on somebody, she didn't even touch her. She stopped a foot short, and then that's the finish. So you've killed Bailey, who just did an interview saying, how about I go back-to-back at the Royal Rumble? You can't beat somebody clean and say, yeah, we're going to put her over at the Royal Rumble. It's like they're all over the place, and they can't figure out what they're doing.
You're absolutely right. And the transfer portal is just bananas. I don't know if Sami Zayn's on SmackDown or he's on Raw. Now Bailey's on Raw, and they just totally screwed up Bailey. How do you bring her over to Raw? It's a fresh start for her, right? And then you lose clean in your very first match. What did you just do to Bailey right then and there? You got to think of creative ways to finish the match with Bailey and not make her look as bad. Maybe Roxanne does a run in and screws her. Or maybe Rhea comes running in on Nia and screws Nia and Bailey's okay. I just can't figure out the transfer portal. I can't figure out what they're doing to Bailey right now. And everything just hurts Bailey right now with her losing clean to Nia tonight.
How about we'll try to read as many comments from the chat as we can. How about this one? Am I going to choose Pete Dunne and Pure Fusion Collective Collection or the national championship game, Ohio State? Well, I think I'm going to go Ohio State and Notre Dame. Yeah. And that brings me to my next point. We have about 3 minutes left in the segment. And Gabby, if you know there's a national championship game and they ran a promo about Marcus Freeman, the head coach of Notre Dame,
right?
How do you not make this a little bit bigger with better matches during that 8 o'clock hour when you know everybody's switching over to the game?
Yeah, that was crazy to me because I didn't even know he was a wrestling fan. So it was kind of a cool snippet that they showed him at a SmackDown last year with his family, and they did that right for the game and stuff. But like, yeah, it was. I have a lot that I have a lot I have to say about this whole Bailey thing that just happened, and I have to jump off of what Tommy just said because he tried to take a little bit of what I'm going to say in the last script, by the way, about what I wanted to see happen, and I need to call him out for it because Tommy, What are you doing? That's mine. Okay, I don't even know where that came from. That's not what we discussed, but it's fine because we're going to get to it, and it's going to be mind blowing. And I'm just saying he did a little, he sugarcoated it a little bit. He teased my tease for the last script, but it's fine.
Wow.
It threw me
Already
off.
calling out Tommy C.
Wow.
First of all, I love that. Second of all, that's what Tommy does. You know, he was a producer for over 32 years. And then all of a sudden he becomes
He's got a few years on me, coach.
Yeah.
I've got a few years on everybody.
But I remember when we were there, and this is something that Vince McMahon would reluctantly adhere to when you had something else big, whether it's a big Monday Night Football game, when you start in the fall, you had to put something big or you had to go commercial free. But tonight it just felt like, you know what? They're going to beat us anyway. So why don't we just punt and throw out Chad Gable? Yeah, go ahead. We got 45 seconds. Gabby.
Oh, you're talking to me? Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm going to say something bad because I do not like Ohio State. So I would be like, no one's watching that game because I'm a hater and I went to Penn State. But I 100% agree with you. You would think that maybe it's I think too, it's different, right? Because it is on Netflix. Like for me, even if I'm dying to watch that game, I'm watching that game or I'm watching Raw because I'm not going out of Netflix to put on the game on a different network. It's not like it's on USA anymore. We can flip back and forth and you can watch it quickly. Like you're kind of watching one or the other.
That's a great point. That's a great point. You've got to get out of that. Okay. So we're just getting started. The last word on Stadium and all of our platforms still to come. We've got a segment called Flip the Script. What would my crew want to change differently? Also, we're going to go to promo school. They're going to get promo on something they liked or didn't like from Raw or maybe even SmackDown. And also, if you're just joining us, the brand new TNA World Champion, Joe Hendry, will join us live at 45 past the hour. It's the last word. We're on Stadium, everybody, and we're a vibe.
Hey, I'm Zach, and this is Deemer Box. What is a Deemer Box? A Deemer Box is a rugged portable speaker. It's a vault to hold all your things, keep them dry and safe, and it's a charger. You know, you're looking at 40 hours of playtime. So we charge this thing maybe once a week when we're traveling and adventuring. There's volume controls on the outside of the box here, so you can turn it up and down. If you have your phone inside there charging, it's nice and safe and dry. All right, so we're gonna hook the Deemer Box to our phone. I'm gonna show you some tricks. You just hit the button on the front. You've got the battery gauge here. That lets you know how full your battery is. You got a volume here as well. So you just turn it on, go to your Bluetooth, Deemer Box DV2, and it says when it's paired. Yep. And so inside the lid, if you're just jamming tunes and you're not around water or anything like that, you can leave this open. But if you're going into a wet or muddy, snowy environment, Inside the lid right here is a plug. You undo this plug, it pops out. Put it right in the top right here. Give it a few turns. Turn it on. Now you've got a waterproof speaker box. Now you can play it for the whales. I think there's a use for each individual person. The Deemer box, like this is mine with all my stickers, my things on it. You can kind of make them your own. That's part of the love of them. Like I have a connection with these because it's like a good belt or like a good pair of boots. You can cater your lifestyle to your Deemer box, but there's no other speaker that charges your things and holds all your stuff, keeps it dry and safe. That's what sets this apart. So I'd recommend y'all trying a Deemer box and bring it because it's so much more than a speaker. Hey, I'm Zach.
Or you can listen to it on your Highway 20 ride. See what I did there? You don't even know his music, Tommy. Just me. I'm like the biggest fan ever. Highway 20 ride. All right, Coach 10 is the code. Go to dimmerbox.com. We are back live on Stadium in 5 seconds. Okay, welcome back, everybody. It is the last word, our debut on Stadium and all of the platforms. We are live on Amazon Prime Video, DirecTV, YouTube TV, Roku TV, and I got the best damn crew in the business. My partner is always Big Tommy C, and introducing tonight for the very first time, she's an absolute rock star, and I'm telling you, she is going to blow things out of the water. The host of Gabby AF, the podcast, Gabby Laspisa. All right, it's time to flip the script. All right, this is the part of the show where we take something from the show or the brand or pro wrestling and we flip the script. We tell you what we would have done. Now, one of the main storyline guys was the Bayley, Nia Jax, Rhea Ripley. What the hell are we doing? So, Gabby, I'm coming over to you first because you already lit Tommy C up and I absolutely loved it. So, we didn't like it. What would you have done differently? Flip the script for me.
So for me, you're building up Bayley. The whole point is she's saying, I'm going to, with back-to-back Rumbles, you're making an announcement that she's now on Raw. So Bayley's important. She's a key person in the game. She's a key person on Raw. She's a WWE superstar who was a former champion of last year, who I wasn't the biggest fan of the run that she had as champion. But I did not like her losing to Nia clean in the finish of their match. How I would have changed it was you showed Roxanne in the crowd, which is great. And you know that that's a bubbling rivalry between Bayley and Roxanne. I think because they got into that little tiff on the outside of the ring, she smacked Roxanne on the side of the head. Why not at some point when Nia and Bayley are going back and forth, Bayley's about to get the win and Roxanne comes in with a distraction, in with something because she's pissed that she got slapped across the face and she's just rabid. So she comes in, ruins the win for Bayley. And now Nia's like, all right, I'm going to beat the shit out of her too because we're heels and that's what we do. So Nia and Roxanne are beating up Bayley and then hit Rhea's music, who's still angry because Nia did wreck her in the beginning of the show. And then as Bayley and Roxanne are taking it outside the ring or whatever's going on, that's when you have the Nia, Rhea. It doesn't need to be the big brawl with the producers and like the whatever. I get why they're doing it. You have to build up for Saturday night, but I think it would have meant more if Bayley, it's more about Bayley to me than it is about Nia, because Nia, like we said, is not even on Raw officially. I think it was more about Bayley not looking weak and being pinned clean, or however the finishing was, that she lost clean. It made her look a little bit weak for no reason whatsoever. And I do think that they get in that habit of doing that with Bayley, where I don't believe her run has been the greatest that it can have been. And
I hate to interrupt you real quick. I'm going to let you finish. I got Triple H on line one. He's asking if you're available to write for the writing team, because that was better than anything they've had in the female division in the last year. Yeah, so
how much is it? How much Triple H? I'm down for negotiation.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding.
So let me ask you this. They had her look away as many times as she's wrestled against Nia Jax. Why would she stand there and look at Roxanne knowing that
Right.
Nia Jax is right behind her 3 feet away, and she just stood there and stood there? That part made no sense to me as well. Please continue.
Also, something I think that they do a lot and they didn't do for this moment that was a little off to me was they didn't replay last Monday night when Nia showed up and came at Bailey while Bailey was just there enjoying herself because it was in her hometown. So that's really where this started. And if I'm watching Raw and I don't remember that happened, I'm like, why do Bailey and Nia have heat all of a sudden? Is Nia just going after everyone? Like, it was a little confusing in that sense. And maybe pull back when Bailey and Roxanne just had a little bit of a look to each other. Like, remind the audience why these little, like, do the Easter eggs of why these feuds are kind of happening, which they do a lot. Like, they do that all the time. But for some reason, in this feud where I think it's necessary because there's so many moving parts, you had Nia attack both Rhea and then come after Bailey. So, and then you have Roxanne sitting on the side who also Bailey hates. So that's a lot of moving parts. And you're like, okay, which two people am I supposed to not like? Am I supposed to like this person? Like, where is this feud coming? Where is this rivalry going? Who am I supposed to see in the big match with each other at the end of the day? Because I think they're doing the program. I think Roxanne's going to show up at Rumble, and I think she's going to be on the main roster very quickly. And I think that her first feud will be with Bailey, and I think it'll be a good one. So I'm like, why not lean into that a little bit more and have her already jump the rail and just be so angry? She's a heel herself, and just build Bailey more as his face. Like, I just didn't get it. I think that would have been a better way to have everybody win and check all the boxes of what I think is important.
So you just wrote the first hour Raw right there. And Tommy, the other part that Gabby made so much sense there is we're talking about 3 different shows. This started SmackDown, went to NXT, then to Raw. So you have to tell that story because not everybody, I know they think everybody watches every minute of every show. They do not. I don't watch anything on SmackDown. I'll read the recap. If anything's good, then I'll go back and watch it. So to Gabby's point, you got to tell that story. How do you leapfrog all of that, especially when you got Roxanne, who a lot of people still don't know yet?
100%.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know Roxanne unless you're an NXT freak and you watch it all the time. And Gabby's absolutely right. You have to do it in line. You have to tell this story here, and this story right here to have it all make sense. You don't just throw a match together and then this happens, that, and then you have no reason why it's happening. There's always a reason why you have to do something. That's what creates the storyline between all these superstars. And that's not being done right now. What she just laid out right there could be 3 weeks worth of storylines all into one.
Booking then Triple H. All right, so Tommy, we're gonna flip the script. What would you flip tonight, sir?
Okay, the beginning of the show has the Jeet guy, right? Jey Uso. And by the way, have you noticed lately you're seeing a lot of merchandise customized to that city? Dallas Stars, the hockey team. He had the colors on it and everything. I see WWE doing that a lot. He's a top superstar. I think he's one of the top guys in merchandise. He comes in, he cuts a promo. He's going against Gunther at Saturday Night's Main Event. And you could write it down verbatim, Coach. What's going to happen next? There's physicality. The producers come in the ring. Security comes in the ring. And 10, 15 guys can't hold these 2 guys back. In reality, come on. Really? You could hold back Jey Uso and you could hold back Gunther. But it's the same thing every week. Can you just have them go nose to nose, do something, maybe argue going to the back, and save the physicality for Saturday Night's Main Event? Because that makes me want to watch it more. When I see these 2 guys going at it, and then the producers come in, and then security, and who's jumping on the table, who's doing this, it makes me want to, they're giving it away. You can't give it away on the show every week. You have to tell the story. Sorry.
Tommy, you got to stop because we have not seen this happen since. Oh, I guess we saw Seth Rollins and CM Punk do the exact same damn thing that you're talking about. And then we wanted to see them on the debut of Raw. You absolutely can do it. You don't always have to have a weak, as Vince Russo says, a mamby-pamby mishmash with Jey Uso and Gunther. All right. I'm going to give mine, and then, Gabby, I want your reaction to it because one of the 3 times in my career, this is where I would flip the script. So Charlotte Flair, they've been teasing her comeback probably going to be at the Royal Rumble. She's been out for a long time. She had a serious injury. There's 3 times in my career in the WWE I walked out onto the floor to watch something because I felt it. And one of those was Triple H's return at Madison Square Garden when he rehabbed his torn quad off his thigh, which I was there for. And then he wrestled another 25 minutes. Then for 4 to 5 weeks, all we saw was videos of him rehabbing. What are they doing with Charlotte Flair? They made all these really nice promos and everything, but I go to her Instagram, I go to her social media, and I'm seeing her rehabbing. I'm seeing how hard she's working her ass off to get back in time for the Royal Rumble, which she needs to be, so then she can potentially win or factor into the storyline because that's such an important match and potentially go to WrestleMania. So to me, I would flip the script, start showing me that and not all of this nice polished stuff. Gabby, that's what I want to see from Charlotte Flair. What about you?
I kind of disagree with you on this a little
Okay.
bit. I will say, I think the less is more when it comes to Charlotte because she's already been putting it on her personals and stuff. Like for the WWE to lean into it, if I saw Charlotte on these promos with the WWE working her ass off, coming back faster than she's supposed to, like whatever, I'd be like, wow, what a comeback story, like blah, blah, blah. But I don't want her coming back as a face. I want her to be a mega heel because I think that's how she's better. So you're doing these smaller vignettes of like, whatever, she's come back polished and she's looking like a queen and doing her thing because I want her to come back and just hate everyone and be like, now is my time and I'm going to destroy every single one of you. Yeah, obviously I'm doing fine and I'm rehabbing because you know I am because I'm Charlotte Flair. I don't need to show you that that's what I'm doing. With WWE, need to show it because it's a given because that's who she is. So
okay, Gabby, let me interrupt you there. This is how you do it. You can still show those videos. When she comes back, she gets a huge pop. She comes down to the ring, cuts a promo, and says, you guys see the videos. You root for me. Do you know who I was doing those videos for? Do you know who I was working my ass off for? And the crowd's like, yeah, us, Charlotte. No, me. Me, and me.
I think she still can. I think she still can do that.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I would show the videos is what
So
I'm saying.
what if she flips the script and is like, you know what? I've been working hard. They're not showing it because, you know, I'm not getting the attention I'm supposed to be getting. And like, maybe you think you forgot about me. Maybe the WWE universe thinks they forgot about me and how hard I've been working. But that's why I'm showing you how hard I've been working because I'm coming back for myself at the end of the day and not for any of you.
I would also somehow incorporate Becky Lynch because they promoted Becky for Netflix, and you cannot tell me. I've been dead on with all this stuff. Yeah, all the fans are like, Coach, you're off. Really? Her contract's not done. Or she would have been back on the first night in LA. Tommy, tell me that her contract's done. Please explain this to me. Becky Lynch, biggest star in the sport.
I mean, we saw her in the promo shoot for Netflix. So what the hell's going on with Becky? I don't get it. I'm like you, Coach. I don't get it. Is it done? Is it not done? You're coming? You're not coming? We all know she's going to show up at the Royal Rumble, right? And just a quick note about Charlotte Flair. What I would do is I would show you what a badass she was in the past. And this is what you guys are missing. And when I come back, I'm going to be badder than ever. Just jumping on what Gabby was saying there. I would show Pat stuff of Charlotte kicking ass every week, man, because she's one of my top favorites, man. She is unbelievable, and this women's division needs her back in a big
100%.
way.
Oh my God, this women's division, they'll never admit it, is weak. It's all over the place. They're trying to build stars, and let's be honest, right now it's Rhea Ripley and Liv, maybe. All right, still to come. We're about halfway home, our debut episode of The Last Word. We're going to be here every single Monday night, live on all the Stadium apps. Coming up next, it's promo school time. What is my crew going to be ranting on today? And speaking of rants, oh, you better believe it. Vince Russo. We'll have our very first Russo's rant as well. It's The Last Word at Stadium. And as always, we are a vibe. All right, we continue on here on our YouTube page. All you incredible wrestling fans out there, me, Big Tommy C, and Gabby. So, Gabby, give me something else tonight, because there was a lot. There was 2.5 hours. The main event was Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre for the second week in a row, or second out of third week. They bring Seth Rollins out, and then they make him sit out there for 5 full minutes as they take yet another break. He's high-fiving everybody. If I'm Seth at this point, I'm pissed.
It's a weird, and listen, I've never been in that situation. I never will probably have to be. So like, I always wonder like how they do deal with that. Like, what do they do? Like, do they complain, or are they just,
I used to.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, I wonder too, is it just certain people? Like, I wonder if they say to them beforehand, like, you're going to be the one to do it. So just know, like, beforehand, or are they just like, you got to deal with it because we know you can do it. Like, I wonder how that conversation goes, because that's got to be rough to do. And depending on the crowd as well, thank God it's been hot crowds every single week of Raw so far. Maybe it's just my TV, but like, they've been great. And that's kind of a cool part for them, I'm sure, to see Seth kind of, doing what he does. But it's got to be hard for him to do that. And then to get back in the mindset of the match and, okay, now let's snap back into it. It's a very challenging thing.
It really is, Tommy. And when it's always the same guy, then you're out there and then the crowd. And I remember Vince used to yell at us if we would talk to the crowd, and like, what are we supposed to do for 3.5 or 4 minutes of a commercial?
Yeah, it's a big TV production thing, right, Coach? Sometimes, and as you know, you get caught up, and we were there back in the day when we were going against Nitro, and they would go to break, and Vince would say, no, we're going to keep going. We're doing this right here. So it's a big TV production. With Gabby was talking about, you're sitting out there, so now they got to go to break. You got to wait to so-called USA and now Netflix to get up to speed because of their advertisers. They're paying money at a certain time. So it's really a big TV production thing than more of a talent thing.
I wonder if those 3 executives that The Rock didn't know where they were sitting on night number 1, if they're sitting in the truck, because that used to always happen. You get those TV executives that are given the $5 billion, and you know they've never thrown a punch in their life, and they're like, man, can we sit in the truck? Can we watch Kevin Dunn or now Lee Fitting or whoever's? Oh my gosh, get out of my way. Let me do what I do. We're back live in 5 seconds. Okay, we are halfway home. We're just past the bottom of the hour, 11:32 live. If you're watching us on demand, thank you as well. You can watch us everywhere. All the stadium apps, Amazon Prime Video, DirecTV, YouTube TV, Roku TV. Also streaming live on our social medias. Coming up in about 13 minutes from right now, you guys do not want to miss this. The brand new TNA World Champion, the social media sensation, Joe Henry, will be here live on The Last Word, our very first live interview. But we're going to have a lot of different segments. But sometimes when you've got the talent that I have at my disposal, you've got to take the audience to promo school on something you may like, something you may not like. So it is time now for promo school. And Gabby, since this is your first night on The Last Word here, I'm going to let you go first. Who are you cutting a promo on tonight?
So I might call an audible here, Coach, and I don't know if I'm allowed. I don't know if you're going to like it. But
Okay.
I was going to talk about Tiffy Time because I'm a big fan and I wanted to cut a promo on her. Okay. But the more this show, we were talking about Charlotte and these other things, I kind of want to cut a promo on something that just in the women's division and with the fan base that I think is more jarring and like noticeable than ever. So if you will allow me to, I think I'm going to switch up my topic.
I would love that.
So something obviously that's a constant that we're talking about is we miss Charlotte, right? We miss Becky, we miss Asuka, we miss these people. And every single time they come back, if they're injured or, obviously Becky had a baby and comes back, every time they come back, give it like a month or two and we see them on our screen every week. And what do we see everywhere? Oh, we're over too much Charlotte, too much Becky. Oh my God. Oh, if I see that person on screen one more time, it's always Charlotte cutting a promo. It's always, oh my God, Becky again, like blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear that shit anymore because every once in a while, things are in this little state where we're like, okay, there's not really a heel on Raw. Well, there's not. Okay, is there a big face here? Is there some? You're going to tell me Charlotte Flair as the biggest heel on Raw right now would not cook up amazing feuds on that roster, would not make young talent better, would not build a rivalry between her and Becky. I'd love to see it. Her and Rhea again. It's endless possibilities. And I want that shit to stop when they come back because I'm so sick of them being off screen for a little bit and then we're biting our words and forgetting that everyone's like, oh, we're oversaturated by these talents. It's impossible to be oversaturated by talents that change the game and everything that they do. And that's the Becky Lynches. That's the Charlotte Flairs. Okay. So I think that there's always room to make stars, but you need the stars that are already there to help build them. And clearly that's what's needed. So if I see one person troll on social media complaining about Charlotte or complaining about Becky, and by the way, if either one of them wins the Rumble, Charlotte's my pick to win the Rumble. I would love to see it. So if that's going to piss you off, I don't even care because she can do it all, and she hasn't yet. So that's how I feel about it. I think the women's division is better when these big stars are around, and people listen. At times, people get angry about it, and I just think that needs to stop, because we get into these places sometimes where we really, really miss them, and you forget it when you're in it. And now we're in it, and you miss them. So don't be complaining when they're back. That's my promo on it. How about that?
Wow. Uno out says, talk to him. You tell him, girl.
I'm
go,
sweating
girl.
right now. I'm actually sweating. Okay.
Oh my God. I knew you were going to be amazing. I knew we picked the right person, Tommy. I knew we picked the right person.
I'm literally sweating. Amazing. I'm not kidding. Look at how flushed I am.
You have to care. Before you can do a show, you have to care. And
Yeah.
nobody cares more than Gabby. All right, Tommy, who are you taking to promo school tonight?
All right, promo school. This is more than a rave, than a rant. And I'm going to tell all you young superstars out there, you have to watch CM Punk tonight. First of all, they got away from the backstage interview, which I love. They brought it in the arena. So now you got the crowd there. And what was the first thing Punk did? He put over Dallas. Now he's got them in the palm of his hand. What's the second thing he does? He talks about the Royal Rumble. And he's creative the way he did it. I'm in the Royal Rumble, and Cena, you can't see me. There's a hook right there. He talked about Roman Reigns. And then it was all over social media after he cut the promo, bringing Hulk Hogan's dusty ass out, because I'll dust him away too. Fellas, women, that's how you cut a promo and let people know I'm in the Royal Rumble. He hit the date. I'm not even sure if he hit the time, but now you know he's in the Rumble. He wants to win it. He wants the main event at WrestleMania. And in that short amount of time, he had me captured for the whole time. And it hit social media about Hogan, and it was all over the place. That's how you do it.
If you miss any of our rants or promo school, you'll be able to see them back on our YouTube pages. We will present reels and shorts. All right, so I'm going to go to promo school on an actual promo from Monday Night Raw. Triple H writing team, understand that Karrion Kross is an absolute superstar. Understand that no matter what he does, I'm into it. He has taken Miz and made him interesting again. And tonight you throw him into a promo that some people saw and some people didn't see. You are 2 weeks away from the Royal Rumble. You are 3 months away from WrestleMania. And you're telling me that Mr. Kross can't be a main event player? You better get out of the way, because this guy is coming through like a freaking freight train. And if you don't give him some main event status, you are missing the boat on Karrion Kross. All right, for the very first time here on The Last Word, he is my partner on the Coach and Bro Show, and he's got a lot to say. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Russo's Rant.
Yo, this is Vince Russo, and this is Russo's Raw Rant, man. I'm going to tell you something about what happened in the first hour of Raw, and I'm talking about the Sami Zayn promo. Listen, man, I feel like I pick a lot on Sami Zayn. Now, let me first say this. Sami Zayn comes across like he's a great dude, great husband, great father, great friend, nice guy. And I'm sure he's all those things. But I am talking about the character that I see on television. And I got to tell you, man, you're on television. You're on Netflix. You're a TV star. This is a big deal, man. Look the part. Look like a star. Sammy comes to the ring. He's wearing some army surplus green shirt. Then he starts talking about 14-year-old Sami Zayn. And the only thing I could think about is, yeah, brother, you're dressing like 14-year-old Sami Zayn. Sammy, please, man, invest some money in what you wear out to the ring. It is killing me. And then to make the comment of being in the top 6 or 7 in the WWE, brother, check your ego at the door. People call me delusional. Either Sami Zayn is delusional if he really believes that, or if it's fact and he is in the top 6 or 7, man, that really tells you how weak this roster is. Sammy, man, listen, clean up. Go to the dog groomer, man. Get that beard trim. Do something with that hair. Buy a nice shirt. Invest in yourself. Invest in your brand, man. You don't want to look like one of these neck beards that show up at these shows every week. You're a star, bro. Act like a star. Be a star. Look like a star. Play the part, Sammy. I know you're a nice guy, man. But, bro, you look like a slob, man. I'm out.
The history of the show, Vince Russo from russosbrand.com. Gabby, I'm going to come over to you because after Sami Zayn came out tonight, here comes KO. No physicality. Put him over like $1 million. Put himself over like $1 million. Did it come off to you like more of a babyface promo than what I expected between those two when they were in the ring together?
Yeah, I mean, I also disagree with Vince because
Tell me why.
I think that whole everything about Sammy that he doesn't like is what makes Sammy loved by the fans in the first place. I think the more that they relate to anybody in the ring that they see and the more that they connect to that person is why they are always going to back them and want to see them win. So I think if all of a sudden he comes out and he's like, oh, I'm going to be dressing like Cody Rhodes and come out in a suit and be this guy, they're going to be like, that's not Sammy. You're not being true to yourself. And isn't the biggest message as a babyface to be true to yourself and to want people to like you for you? Like I think that's why people like him so much. And I think him being honest about the fact that I don't need it and I'm happy, but I want it kind of is what makes him why people like him so much. So I don't hate it as much as Russo
let me throw
hates
this
it.
back at you then.
Sure.
Because that whole promo is about how he's never done it. So in order to change what people think about him, in order to change how he's perceived by other superstars, by management, why would you not throw how you look into the mix? How about, I mean, Triple H did it. I was there when Triple H used to, remember, Tommy? It was blue jeans, a blue jean jacket, and then he showed Vince McMahon, I want to be an executive. So what happened? One day he walks into the production meeting. We're like, who the hell is that? He was in a three-piece suit, tie. We're like, who is this guy? But that's not who he was. But that's who he is now. Do you ever see Triple H not in a suit? Ever? No. The answer is no to that. Tommy, so to me, you could, I'm not saying that Gabby's wrong, but if you want to change the narrative, how about you change all of the narrative and says, I mean business all the way down to how I look?
I'm on board with Vince on this whole deal. I'm sorry, Gabby. He
That's fine.
looks like a cab driver to me, okay? That's what when I first started there and I had him there, he looked like a cab driver. We put the picture up of Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn. The WWE couldn't do nothing with Bobby Lashley, who, by the way, has a body of an Adonis, looks like $1 million, dresses like $1,000 suits, looks great. And you mean to tell me they had nothing for Bobby Lashley, but they have something for Sami Zayn, who walks around with a flannel shirt, doesn't even do his beard? If you're a superstar, you're paid to be a superstar, and you have to look good. At least get good ring gear. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I think if you have to talk about, I think if we talk about that, then I just think that opens the doors for a lot of things. I think the greatest part about having different kinds of champions is the diversity of what they represent and not changing themselves. And I think as a fan watching, I don't want to see them change if unless they have to. Like if he wins the championship and is like, I want to represent you guys better, I'm going to do this. But like, why can't he be enough as he is? I think that's the struggle. And I think people relate to that feeling.
Because he's never has been. I don't think
Maybe he will now.
Have you seen Cody Rhodes?
Maybe.
He represents the company. Have you seen Cody?
I've seen him once or twice.
It's a great argument. It's a great argument. All right, we're going to put a pin in it. We're going to have to leave it right there. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, the TNA brand new world champion, Joe Henry, will be here live on The Last Word. You don't want to miss it's Last Word. We're live on Stadium.
Hey, I'm Zach, and this is Deemer Box. What is a Deemer Box? A Deemer Box is a rugged portable speaker. It's a vault to hold all your things, keep them dry and safe, and it's a charger. You know, you're looking at 40 hours of playtime. So we charge this thing maybe once a week when we're traveling and adventuring. There's volume controls on the outside of the box here, so you can turn it up and down. If you have your phone inside there charging, it's nice and safe and dry. All right, so we're gonna hook the Deemer Box to our phone. I'm gonna show you some tricks. You just hit the button on the front. You've got the battery gauge here that lets you know how full your battery is. You got volume here as well. So you just turn it on, go to your Bluetooth, DeemerBox DV2, and it says when it's paired. Yep. And so inside the lid, if you're just jamming tunes and you're not around water or anything like that, you can leave this open. But if you're going into a wet or muddy, snowy environment, inside the lid right here is a plug. You undo this plug, it pops out. Put it right in the top right here. Give it a few turns. Turn it on. Now you've got a waterproof speaker box. Now you can play it for the whales. I think there's a use for each individual person. The Deemer box, like this is mine with all my stickers, my things on it. You can kind of make them your own. That's part of the love of them. I have a connection with these because it's like a good belt or like a good pair of boots. You can cater your lifestyle to your Deemer box, but there's no other speaker that charges your things and holds all your stuff, keeps it dry and safe. That's what sets this apart. So I'd recommend y'all trying a Deemer box and bring it because it's so much more than a speaker.
Oh, DeemerBox.com, the official sponsor of tonight's show. Go to their website. Coach10 is the code. You get 10% off site-wide. We're going to be back in 10 seconds. Joining us in 10 seconds will be the one and only Joe Henry. We're back in 5 seconds.
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. Cause they love him in London and Paris and Tokyo, America, Scotland and Canada and Mexico. They say I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
Oh, and it keeps kicking him out. He's going to join us here very shortly. We literally are having tech issues, but Joe Henry, we'll try to get him back. Is he back? Is he back? No, not yet. All right, so the TNA World Champion, he keeps getting kicked off, but he's going to join us here live. Really exciting. Last night, one of the, if not the biggest moment of his career against Nick Nemeth, and he's kind of been having this rise up the ranks, and now with this new partnership that we have, Tommy, with WWE, this could be the year for Joe Hendry.
Oh, absolutely. And I watched his match last night with Nick Nemeth there, and that was a great match. I've been waiting for him to be a champ for a long time. I think he's going to take the ball and run with it. And now with the inclusion of WWE with TNA, the sky's the limit for Joe.
All right, he just texted me. It keeps kicking him out for some reason when you have these remote shows. It happens. Not the end of the world. It happens. We'll try to get him here shortly. But Gabby, I know you've had him on your podcast before. Yeah. You love this guy.
Yeah, I had him on. I actually rewatched the interview today, right after after the match today. I think he might be back, so I'm going to wrap. Yeah, because he's right there, so I'm not going to talk about myself.
There he is. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the last word, Mr. Joe Henry. Oh, we got to give you an applause after last night. Sir, we know it's late. Thanks for joining us. My man, we talk about you all the time. What an emotional big night for you. You're the TNA World Champion. How big of a night was it for you, sir?
It was huge. I just want to say thank you from switching to the 4 squares here because this belt was too big for the space that you had for me on the screen there. This feels pretty good. TNA World Champ. Sounds good, right?
It does. It does. Gabby, what do you got?
So we were just talking, Joe. It's good to see you again. You were just on my show like 6 months ago. I don't know if you remember.
We had a great conversation. Of course,
really
I remember.
Deep conversation. We really got into it. We did manifest you winning the title. I don't want to say I put it out there and manifested it, so you're welcome. But
you want to imply it though. But go ahead.
Yes, you know how I work. And you mentioned the whole story about that amazing story of you having that phone conversation with John Cena, which you brought up again today, and you've been talking about it. And that's the talk of the town today, is that you've called out John Cena, which we knew was going to happen. So I know why it makes sense clearly, and you want him to cross over to TNA. You want to have that moment. But I think people don't realize how emotionally invested you are in this. So talk about how that moment will be for you, meaning what it would mean for you in this full circle moment, considering you were on that phone with him so young and what he means to you in your career.
Well, it was. I just think it's an incredible story. So many things happen in wrestling that you could not sit down and write the drama that the real life aspects of wrestling provide. To give you an example, the arena that we wrestled in last night at the Curtis Caldwell Center in Texas, that was the first venue that I ever wrestled at in America after the world got shut down. And I was there without a contract, had, it was very much a tryout, didn't know where I was going to go, had decisions to make, and then that's the venue. You come back and you win the world title. You can't write this stuff. You also can't write the fact that John Cena was the first pro wrestler I ever spoke to when I was 15 years old. And so, what an honor it would be to share the ring with someone. He's on my Mount Rushmore, one of the greats, carried the business at a time when it was a very difficult thing to do. All the respect in the world, but I got to tell you this. John, look at this belt. Are you telling me John Cena wouldn't be excited about going for this?
It's
Yes, he
blinding.
would. Yes, he
It
would.
blinds me. It hurts my eyes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Tom, real
oops,
quick,
sorry.
Tommy, I know you got one, then Gabby, you got another one. Go ahead, Tommy.
So congratulations on being the champ. And we all know social media has really taken over the world. How's it made you where you are today in the world of social media? And you jumped on it right away. How's that worked for you?
Well, my viewpoint is you have to provide value. You got to be entertaining, and I very much follow the Chael Sonnen methodology when it comes to promoting yourself on the way to a championship or being the champion. It's like, what is the most value, the most thought-provoking, interesting things that I can throw out there? How can you do that? Like this morning, I did one little interview where I mentioned that, and then here we are talking about it's the talk of the town. That's your job when you're the champion, is to create hype for the company that you're in. And I don't know if you've seen right now, but the crowds that we are getting at TNA Wrestling are unbelievable. Go look at the footage from last night. Look at the photos. We are filling arenas up and down the country. I'm telling you, TNA is a hot product, and we are going to the moon in 2025.
Man, you see, you're crushing it as the champion. You don't even realize that answer was the perfect answer for a TNA champion. So I knew this was going to happen for you. I'm really excited. Another thing that we talked about when you were happened to be on my podcast 6 months ago was that you had taken a little bit of time away from. You had an opportunity to go on like tour for your music, and you didn't do it because you wanted to focus on your wrestling, which seems to pay off for you because look at where you are right now. But now that you're champion, are we going to see a new single? Are you working on like a championship song or something and it's going to be collabed with someone? I mean, you're the champion now. You can get whoever you want.
That's a great point. I think it might be time to put out an album, in fact.
Oh.
So I'm actually
Ooh, okay.
building a recording studio right now in Scotland so that I can use when I'm not on the road. But yeah, you're definitely going to see new music from me this year. I got a concert coming up on the Jericho Cruise on February 2nd. I'll be there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, you will definitely see a mixture of live performances. But I will tell you, when you're the champ, the priority is you got a target on your back, and even to getting there is one thing, but to stay there is much more difficult. So my goal is always to be the most improved wrestler of the year. And if you're the most improved wrestler a couple of years in a row, pretty soon you win a world championship. But now this is where the challenge really begins. I'm calling out some big names, some huge names. I'm really excited for what this title run is going to mean to me. I mean to TNA and the professional wrestling business. And I'm excited. I feel like I have a real opportunity, and something that I've been doing is trying to bring as much value that I can to TNA, to the professional wrestling business, mixing things up. Let's get people talking about the TNA World Championship.
Well, you say the word opportunity, and we just announced TNA with a partnership with WWE. I mean, there couldn't be a better time. The next big event, which I was in 2 of these, by the way, Joe, is the Royal Rumble match. Are we going to see a big boy? Royal Rumble? Oh, he can't even talk about it. You can't even talk about the Royal Rumble.
I gotta be honest, and this, I'm being serious. The internet is not great here, so I didn't get all of that, but I heard you say you can't even talk about something. I can always talk, my friend. You can ask. I can choose not to answer. I did not actually hear the question, but I'm going to assume that you were asking me about a specific event. And here's
Royal
the thing.
Rumble.
This is what. Yes, this is what I'll say. I had a wonderful experience at WWE. I have only good things to say about this. Can you imagine getting to work with Terry Taylor every day, getting to learn from Shawn Michaels on a daily basis? And now TNA and WWE are working together. This is an amazing thing for the professional wrestling business. And we're in an era, Coach, you know it, anything is possible in the world of professional wrestling. If you've been in 2 Royal Rumbles, I mean, come on.
I won't even take offense to that.
anything is possible, but ultimately here's the difference. Before, hey, I was a wrestler, but now I'm the TNA champion, so I have a duty to do what's best for TNA wrestling. So hey, if TNA pick up the phone and they tell me you got to go, it doesn't matter where they tell me to go. TNA management tell me to go, I'm going to go, and wherever it is, I'll represent the company well.
Literally changing the game. Joe Henry, thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to have you back when we have a little bit longer, but brother, congratulations. You are changing the game, and we are big fans here at BTT. All right, man? We'll see you very soon. Congratulations.
Thank you, my friend and coach. I just want to say this is very cool for me as well. I really enjoyed watching your segments, with The Rock back in the day. I enjoyed your work, so I was very happy to come on the show. Gabby, it's great to see you. And thank you, Tommy, as well. Great to chat to everybody. I really appreciate the support, and thank you to your viewers and listeners for making wrestling fun. We appreciate it. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, my God. How great is that? Ladies and gentlemen, the TNA World Champion, the one and only Joe Henry. An album coming out. We know we're going to see him in the Royal Rumble, and that is a great way to end our very first show here on Stadium. We're going to be live every single week at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, you can catch us on demand for Gabby Laspisa, Gabby AF podcast for Big Tommy C. I'm the coach. We'll see you next week right here on The Last Word. Take care.